Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Patriot Català TV, and as we promised, we're gonna keep on um, explaining the news from Barcelona. We are live right now, and we're trying to explain our case for the people to understand over the world. So thanks for being here. At the moment, we don't have many content in English, but we promise we're gonna keep with the compromise of at least doing one chapter per week, so you can start diving deep into what's happening in Catalonia from the Catalan point of view. Catalan News. Ban Ki-moon asks for talks regarding Catalonia's self-determination claims. The United Nations respects self-determination processes, state the Secretary General of the United Nations when he was asked about Catalonia's and Scotland's self-determination processes during his official visit to Andorra, a small independent country in the Pyrenees which has Catalan as its official language. Andorra have 80,000 citizens, the whole country. So it's like a small, not small, but a medium-sized town, let's say. Um, and its official language it's Catalan. Ban Ki-moon urged all the political leaders to talk and find a negotiated and peaceful solution. All the pending issues among countries have to be solved via peaceful means and through dialogue, respecting the genuine will of the affected people, he stated. As opposed to the United Kingdom's government, the Spanish executive currently refuses to even talk about Catalonia's self-determination claims, which are backed by November's electoral results and recent opinion polls. This is April the 3rd on 2013, so almost 10 years ago. So, as you know, this is a claim that Catalans have been searching for such a long time. Ban Ki-moon urged all the political leaders to talk and find a negotiated and peaceful solution. 2013. You know, the United Nations.
Els empresaris, la democràcia no ens provoca inquietuds. Per contra, ens provoquen preocupació la intolerància i la ignorància. Constatem amb molta preocupació que a Espanya no es dialoga des de la transició.
Okay, so this is the company who made Pegasus, you know, this NSEO group. We saw it in the first chapter of this series. And, you know, we heard very funny things like, for example, the modus operandi, a familiar plot in Spain from other cases in which Citizen Lab has published evidence-based reports on Pegasus abuse. First, deny and smear, then a grudging partial admission, a kind of I partly admitted, but we go to another details. Then try to rationalize with dubious justifications. So go to the long tail explanation, let's say. So this is something that they repeat in many things because we have to remember that this constitution that they brag about is the constitution that the dictator Franco left.
Es nuestra posición y es que el gobierno no tiene nada que ocultar, absolutamente nada. Por tanto, el gobierno colaborará al máximo con la justicia en la investigación de estos hechos si es que los tribunales nos requieren para ello.
The Spanish minister Robles defiant on Catalan Gate. Go to the courts, like there and go to the courts. You know, because they can.
Yo no le quito la libertad que presidente, no he dicho la palabra prohibida.
No me interrumpa, pero si se ha dirigido a mí, permítame que le haga una pequeña reflexión. Usted tiene la libertad, naturalmente, para realizar la intervención que quiera, pero esa libertad tiene que hacerla compatible con las normas que nos hemos dado todos en esta Cámara, que usted tiene la obligación de conocer y yo tengo la obligación de respetar y de aplicar.
Catalan. Spain chief admits legally hacking some phones. A leading Catalan separatist politician says that Spain's top intelligence. So it is clear to see that, for example, the way that you deny it or you partially deny it, it's some comments that we heard in the past weeks, like saying that, you know, the responsibility of the crime, let's say, it's for the one who built the weapon. That's like saying I'm gonna shoot you 3 times and then say that it's fault from the one who built the gun. I mean, these weapons are eligible. I mean, you can choose to have it, like you have guns and, I don't know, choppers with bomb throwers, and I don't know. Then if those weapons, a lot more sophisticated weapons are available, why don't, I mean, they are in the market, so they know it's happening. But the point in Catalonia is very specific because you only well, let's keep on going. I mean, I think the stars of the thing are going to explain it better than me. Amnesty International asked the Spanish government to clarify its involvement with the Catalan Gate. Catalan president denounces a serious attack on democracy and fundamental rights. Beginning in 2007, you know, when the hype of the Catalan independentism grew up and went to the roof, you know, 3 million people on the streets constantly. I mean, it was constant. It was not only one day. It was like almost 10 years doing the biggest manifestations in Europe, at least. But I could say the world, because maybe it's close to the biggest ones in the world. And it was peaceful and it was with no violence. But as everyone saw, they tried to stop it. I'm saying, I'm not talking about, sorry, I'm not talking about Spanish people in general. You know that it was a dictator who made this constitution, and he put it with the new king that he put. That it's the father of the nowadays king, you know, Philip the Sixth, and the predecessor of this Felipe the Sixth, it was Felipe the Fifth, who was the one who killed all the Catalans brutally and burned all the books and all that. Then after that, it was, you know, also Franco, and Franco led that constitution, and it's still it's running today. I mean, it's still being the thing that they are getting to. This is a spot. I mean, everybody knew. Good evening to everyone. We're going to the chat at the end of the content. So international human rights and civil liberties organizations have expressed their outright rejection to the use of Pegasus spyware against human rights defenders, journalists, lawyers, members of civil society organizations, political representatives, and the general public. Digital espionage is not legal or democratic, and an independent investigation is needed to provide clarity, according to the manifesto presented on Tuesday and signed by more than 30 groups, including European Democratic Lawyers and the European Association of Lawyers for Democracy and World Human Rights. So even though this is like what should happen,
things that I dig into in this story is I think there's been a common perception that this is a problem of the developing world or a problem that is limited to repressive regimes. There's been a lot of coverage about how cyber offensive capabilities have been used against dissidents and journalists under, for instance, the Saudi regime. But more and more, we are seeing Western democracies use this technology. A big chunk of this piece is about a new a cluster of infections from a couple of years ago, but newly documented, that is, targeting journalists and civil society members and politicians in the Catalonia autonomous region of Spain. It seems just as a result of peaceful political demonstration that they've done.
How has this been used inappropriately?
This has been used, certainly if you buy the research of a number of very credible watchdog groups, against journalists and dissidents and opposition politicians in just about every corner of the world at this point. I just mentioned the Western European example of Catalonian separatist politicians. We've seen it in African countries, in Middle Eastern countries, used against people like, a Saudi women's rights activist.
Mhm. Everyone is just blocked. The European Commission, what they are doing about that? What the European Commission, all those salaries, imagine those are the titulars. Brussels calls on Spain to investigate Catalan Gate. Unacceptable. The European Commission expects that the national authorities will examine this in order to restore confidence. Sure, they're working super hard. Irregular meeting on the European Commission with the Catalan anti-independence entity. Justice Commissioner Didier Reinders met with Sociedad Civil Catalana before it was inscribed in the European Union's transparency.
Surveillance can be justified only if it is written in the law and in very special circumstances in a democratic environment for the reasons for national security, for public health or others. But it is certainly not conceivable and not good to hear that there are that people, and in particular people pertaining to civil society, which at so many occasions we have praised, and we have in number of our ministerial sessions and other documents, we called for strengthening civil society. And in what is allegedly the case here are the members of the civil society. So I think this issue, if it proves to be true, need to work on. But civil society, politicians also elected are important part of democratic society, and we need to do everything which we can in order to protect.
Okay, so this is what the European Commission is doing. This is a new from the Catalan Gate. Espionage hits Scotland. Ponsati's lawyer, who is that sir, was hacked by Spain. It was outside Spain because they were in Scotland, but they used this kind of, let's call it, weapons, not to anyone, but to the people, to the dissidents. The UK Parliament, what they would think now that they are a very important role after they went out of the UE. What do you think about it?
The Spanish government stands accused of using Pegasus, the controversial Israeli spyware, to hack into the phone of a Scottish solicitor who was representing Professor Clara Ponsati, Catalonia's former education minister and now a member of the European Parliament. Does the Foreign Secretary agree with me that if this occurred, it would be a disgraceful breach of solicitor-client privilege and a direct attack on a democratically elected politician? And will the Foreign Secretary take this matter up with the Spanish ambassador next time she meets with them?
Mr. Speaker, I can assure the honourable lady in this House that we have a very strong international relationship with Spain. We're able to raise all kinds of issues. I am not going to speculate on the details or comment on the details she's raised. I have no way of corroborating them, but I can assure her that this government will always stand up for the rule of law and the willingness to support that too.
And they are laughing about it. I mean, this is what it is. The European Parliament. What they would be doing tomorrow, for example.
Muito obrigado. Dou agora a palavra a Clara Ponsati Obiols por 1 minuto e 30.
Thank you, President. Last July, The Guardian reported that many Catalan politicians, among them collaborators of MEP Carles Puigdemont, are being spied illegally through Pegasus, a software that operates through WhatsApp and that sells only to governments. Following the confirmation that the Spanish government uses Pegasus to illegally spy on political opponents, no judicial investigation has started and no one has resigned over this scandal. After all, in Spain, using illegal means, including censorship of web pages, is a routine practice to prosecute Catalan dissidents. What did the European Commission have to say about this scandal? Nothing. They feel with the right to preach about fundamental rights all over the world, in Russia, Belarus, even in the US. But when the abuse happens inside the EU, they selectively use the internal matter mantra. And when it applies to Spain, violating rules, the Commission is embarrassingly blind. The Digital Service Act must prevent companies and governments that collude to store data illegally, but must also punish member states that abuse digital technology against citizens. Thank you very much.
Well, it's plain to see. Imagine such a loss it was to lose for the European Union, the loss of the United Kingdom. Imagine, I mean, they tried to scare the do you remember no, you're gonna lose a lot of market. I mean, it's gonna be worse for you, and they are doing great. I mean, they are doing great. It is nothing that the European Union can give to the United Kingdom to be better. I mean, they are very well on their way. And what's happening with this European Union is that, imagine in the world how we went from the middle 20th century, we went from 50, 60 countries, and we are now almost 200 countries. So that we are seeing is that it's more productive, let's say, to manage your own resources. And when that kind of super big countries, when there's one central government taking all decisions for people who are super far away, it's less productive, less profitable. So this is plain to see. So the problem that we have in all countries, that is that, I mean, the more far away the people can be controlling the decision makers, the worst for the people. That's obvious to see. I mean, Andorra, as we spoke before, is a country, a regular country. I mean, not a special country, just a country with a state, with everything a country have, with 80,000 people. I mean, this is a medium-sized town. So, what's happening with the European Union is exactly the same that's happening in Spain. The central power is taking decisions for everyone. They get in their bunker, just they live in a separate world, let's say, and they want to keep this. So it's plain to see that Catalonia would be greater than Switzerland, probably. Yeah, with all the patents and all the intellectual property, probably more than that. Uh, it's plain to see that Spain needs the Catalan countries because all the Valencian country and all the Balears and all Catalonia, we all speak the same language. I mean, this is naturally the same. And those Catalan countries are 70% of the experts, Spanish experts, with all the sabotage, and 50% of the GDP. So imagine how important is to keep submitted Catalonia, to keep Catalonia submitted, uh, life or death. I mean, it's not nothing more than that. They need it as breath.
Thank you so much. And I want to be very clear on one thing. The revelations that we saw yesterday also showed that 6 of our colleagues, members of this European Parliament, have been infected by spyware. And for at least one of them, Diana Riba, we know that she has been spied upon while she worked in committee inside this parliament. So we know they will have, or they can have, information, confidential information of these talks. They can have confidential information from the exchanges she had. They can have confidential information on parliamentary documents. And this clearly shows that an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us, because it undermines the notion of parliamentary immunity, which is core of making democracies and our work here work. I mean, imagine we want to control the executive and security agents, and at the same time, everything we do, when we consult, when we discuss, when we strategize, they can listen into it. That's what we are facing. And I think we really need to send a very strong signal at the beginning of this committee, with a parliamentary debate in the next plenary, that we do not accept such political interferences into the work of us here inside this European Parliament, irrelevant of political group, national context, or whatsoever, because that is what makes us strong as a European Parliament.
They should act. They should do something. Where all those hundreds of salaries goes, what they are doing, they are trying to keep the party as big as they can. They lost United Kingdom. This is a big loss. And now they say that they are gonna do a commission to study if so and so. So they know it, they use it, because you can, if you are in control of the government in any country, you can spy your political rivals. European Parliament begins investigation into Pegasus spyware as MEP hacks revealed. Former President and now Brussels lawmaker Carles Puigdemont, who is calling for an inquiry at the EU level, says his wife, lawyer, and many of his staff were also targets of the Pegasus attacks. We, as MEPs, and even one of our assistants, have been spied on with Pegasus while working in this house, putting at risk the communications of the whole European Parliament. Puigdemont said on Thursday, because it's like the lady said, an attack to one of us is an attack to all of us. This is how it should be, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to to trust or to put our confidence in those public servants because they are too far away
Thank you,
from them.
President. Spain is spying on elected politicians, including MEPs, our lawyers, our families, our assistants. The Catalan Gate is a dystopian fantasy, a pathetic rendering of the life of others, taking place under the complacent watch of the Commission and the Council that cynically just mumble half-baked excuses on internal affairs. You may hope to get away with this, Commissioner, but in every political life, there is a moment in which you can either stop the spread of a disease or be part of it. If the Union becomes nothing more than a cartel of old states with freedom to prosecute national minorities, the failure will have many parents. We don't ask you to solve our problems or to sympathize with our hopes. We just demand that you do your duty, uphold our rights in front of an authoritarian state. Thank you very much.
There is a historic event occurring this afternoon involving Catalonia that could well change the nature of Europe, what forms of repression are acceptable within the Western world, and what moves populations can take in order to resist repression and come together to secure their self-determination. This has been the greatest Gandhian project that has occurred. Millions of Catalonians turning out to vote in the street, being beaten aggressively by Spanish security forces, being hacked by Spanish security forces, having their telephone exchange occupied, having their political leadership arrested, being threatened, as we saw today, with rebellion and put in prison for a minimum of 25 years. That is going to spread throughout the Western world. The lessons of this are going to spread throughout the Western world to, yes, to secessionist movements, but also to the states trying to repress them and to repress people's struggles for self-determination in general. The discipline with which the Catalan population have carried out their referendum is astounding. Astounding that millions of people going to the polls, being beaten by the police, and not one image of them fighting back. Not one image. That's incredible discipline. It's similarly in their marches and so on. And if the US left is not absolutely obsessed with what is happening there and the redefinition that is occurring of the nature of the relationship between population and state, well, I mean, I have no...
I mean, it's very plain to see. Catalonia's independence is coming. We use that hashtag Save the Catalans to ask for help to all around the world. People who believe in human rights. People who believe in peaceful societies. Creative societies as Catalans. As Catalan society is. Hashtag Save the Catalans. The Catalan spirit is now reborn, getting closer and closer after 300 years to our independence, to regain our millennial state in Europe. Hashtag Save the Catalans. Catalonia, a struggle for survival. News from Catalonia. Every week we promise one communication in English. Thank you, channel members, We have Que Pasaria C, Maria Ruiz Ruiz, Joan Calvet, Denis, Manel Lladó, Àngela Rubies, en Joan, Rafcat 33, Xavier Michelena, Pere Miquel Sala Sala, Sir DR Inic, gracias. Thank you very much. And thank you to all our subscribers. And now we go for a little while to our chat. How are you doing? It's only our second. Let's see who is the first of the class today. And it's Jamón Cocido. Hello, good evening, Patriot. Very nice to have you around. We're trying to ask for help around the world for the Catalan case. I think it's a fair case to defend. I mean, we've been conquered by war. I mean, by the force of the weapons, and we still being a colony of the old Spanish kingdom. Nothing against Spanish people. Is the kingdom of Spain, who was put in the power by Franco itself, and it's still ruling the world. At least the Spanish world. Good evening, everyone. Francesc Borrull, good evening. How are you doing? Molt content de tenir-te aquí. Gràcies, Patriota. Moltíssimes gràcies. Matriota Darris, hello. How are you today? Yes, great. I'm doing great. It's amazing. We promised that we're going to keep at least once a week, one chapter to explain the case of Catalonia from the point of view of the Catalans. For example, you know the Stephen King movie or novel, Misery. You know Misery. You know, she's a registered nurse. It's a bit, it's a bit crazy, and she's in love with a writer, and she kidnaps him. He gets against his will, and he ties him on the bed. And imagine that Misery is talking in his words. I mean, she's defending the rights of the I can't remember the name of the guy, but the writer. So now what we do is open a window and say, please help, because we thought that the European Commission would help us for democracy. I mean, not for being Catalans, but no, they're gonna keep their business. They're gonna make a non-aggression pact. Kind of, okay, you respect my thing. This is the law. This is something comparable to if you, for example, you remember when women couldn't vote or couldn't sit on the bus. Imagine if they were black. I mean, imagine someone saying, "Oh, it is the law." She's a woman. She clearly should have a vagina, so she cannot vote. Imagine someone saying, "It is the law." I'm sorry, but this is the law. It's what the European Union is doing now. It's like, oh, it is the law. They can beat them down. And what Sir Assange said, it's very important. Remember what, if you want to go back to the video, it's very important. It's very precise what he says. He says, which is the limit where law enforcement can impose his censorship, or they can stop it by force, and which is the line, or which is the limit people can resist to that force. You can see anyone who saw, it's amazing because on Netflix it was a very good documentary called Two Catalonias, or something like that. It was after the big bidding, and all that stuff, and the images are pristine. I mean, it's clear to see that people are peaceful there trying to vote, and the police, they send 10,000 police only to stop the poll. Uh, and they've been hospital into the ships on the port, um, and they beat elder people. They beat elder people, peaceful elder people. It's plain to see. The images are easy to say. How can you say that some policemen were injured with helmets, sticks, and everything, and protections and all that stuff? And they tried to say that the elderly people that were doing this, like, we're gonna vote, with blood running down their noses. And I mean, the images are, but even the images are clear to see, impossible to try to justify. Someone like Josep Borrell, who appears in the documentary, probably finances the documentary, saying, no, it was against the law. They were committing a crime. And if a rapist, rapes someone, we have to stop him. So it's the same. They are committing a crime. I mean, it was plain to see. But even though the European Union did nothing, absolutely nothing, and of course Spain or the supposed Catalan government is not doing anything, because it doesn't exist any Catalan power. That's it. There's only one power in Spain, and it's the one who won the war. And Franco let it tight and well tied, as he himself said. He said, atado y bien atado. That means tied and well tied. And that's it. And of course, Catalonia would revolt totally. But if they put kind of columns that they speak Catalan and they seem Catalan, they can calm us down better. They can gain more time, saying, no, it would be worst for you keeping all your money. It would be super worst. Say thanks for having Spain. Subverting you. That's what they're trying to sell us. And but people, with the internet, with the bombardings and the shootings, and the media totally controlled, it was impossible to get out from the jail. But now with the internet, it's easy to find other explanations of what's really happening in Catalonia. From Barcelona Live, we have Raconet Català. She's my star. She's my starlet. Good evening, Patriots. Thank you very much, Raconet Català. To your orders, as always. Thank you. Jamón cocido, ¿qué tal? Bru important de Gancho says to the Paco, Familia Bagamonte, do you want me to punch you in the stomach? And the Pancho says to the Pincho, punch me, but to the stomach, no. 5 funds. This is a kind of a tongue twist in Catalan, but translated have not much sense. But yeah, I think I know what you want to say. Thanks for being here, Jamón Cocido. Thanks. We are shouting to the world, asking for help for Catalonia. We really, this is a fair cause. I think we deserve it. We deserve it. And as Pau Casals said in the ONU headquarters in the 70s, I can remember the year, he said, I am a Catalan. Catalonia had a parliament in the 11th century. long before the English Parliament, Catalonia had a parliament. 1,000 years, and we're still standing after being bombarded, being totally massacred for 300 years, and we're still here. So we are asking for help for people in the world that Maria Ruiz. Hello, good evening, Maria. I'm super happy to have you here. Thank you very much for being here. We promised that we are going to keep at least one communication a week in English to try to keep the metadata bigger and bigger and try to expand our boards. So thank you very much for being here. Tony Noan, hello, good evening. Hello, Patriot, good evening. Salva Català, hi there, compatriots. How are you doing? Proud to be Catalan. We are proud. We are very proud to be Catalans. Sure we are. Thank you very much. And Martí Salva, bona nit. Bona nit, com estàs, patriota? Molt bé. Thank you very much for being... I mean, we're starting the collection of communications in English. We're gonna try to do it simpler than what we do in Catalan, because of course there are a lot of intricate things and tribulations in the Catalan day-to-day thing, but we're trying to simplify the message to make it arrive to the world like a message in a bottle. I think that it is a fair cause. Catalans, we are peaceful people, we are creative people. Barcelona is probably one of the best cities in the world. We are entrepreneur people. We are commercial people. We've been invaded by France and Spain through the years because, a small country among two very big bellic powerhouses, it's very difficult to maintain your borders. Now that we cannot be bombarded, it's probably that we are very, very, very close to the moment that we've been expecting for 1,000 years. Ivan Paralló, long live free and sovereign Catalonia. Yes, we still trying. We keep the promise to do at least once a week, one communication in English to find the Catalan Patriots all over the world. So thanks, Ivan. Where are you? Are you in Catalonia? Are you in another country? It's very nice to meet you. Thanks for being there. We're going to keep on pushing. And of course, given that Catalan doesn't really exist in the metadata in the internet, nobody is. I mean, there's no power in Spain. There's only one power, and they are doing nothing to keep the language. So it's easier to reach out a lot more in English, and even though in Spanish for all the LATAM area. So we're gonna try to keep growing with this message that we are asking for help to the world because we deserve it. It's a fair cause. Catalans, we've been, as Pau Casals said, we had a parliament in the 11th century where we've been talking about peace. 11th century, much before the English Parliament, and after 1,000 years, we're still alive, even though the massacres we suffered, the bombardings, the shootings, everything. So thanks everyone for being there. Long life to Catalonia, and let's make Catalonia free again. Thank you very much, and we see you very, very soon.